Now we're
Now we're
going
going
up.
up. Okay. Now we're going up.
And Lucky Stripe is coming around the corner, and he's in first place. He's a furlough ahead.
All right. Now our levels are good. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to. I could introduce you, but I'm not gonna.
That's audacious. That's like, I don't know. Like,
No, I
that's
just-
braggadocious.
I don't
like,
wanna-
you're being too kind
I don't want to
already.
mess it up. I don't want to be like,
Yeah.
I'm here with Dave Guzman, the CEO of a
No, that's
$25
lame,
million.
lame. No, but the reality is, like, I like this format because I don't have headphones on.
Yeah, and it's just
So it's kind of like
talking.
a conversation. I mean, the mic is very AC/DC, like rock concert, but I do like this format.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So how would you introduce yourself as someone who doesn't know anything about the building industry, or, it's like picture from a college kid to a retiree. You're the CEO, president of, how big is your company? How many employees? What does your business do? Like, just kind of go into it.
Well, how would I? That's a great question. So blue collar, high school diploma. Grew up in a family, real tight family environment. My grandfather's business was a family business, and so my background is really like family, work hard, and be nice to others. Like, we have a big factory, we have a big product offering. It's a fast-growing company. We've scaled over 50% in the last 6-8 months. So a lot of what's going on in our world right now is kind of like we got the new facility that enabled us to expand and grow and scale quite a bit. But as a human being, I'm just a regular guy that puts my pants one leg at a time. I believe in people. I believe in high moral ethics in business, and I think communication is the key to life. And I think that's just from my upbringing,
And so the product that you make, right? There's houses, there's commercial properties, there's a certain aesthetic. Like, what is it? What is the product?
So we put the jewelry on the home, man. I mean, when you see a house and you see the details on it and the embellishments that make it look different than just a square box with an overhang, that's what we do. The basis behind it is West Indies architecture, coastal architecture. That's where we started, which has expanded to, like, now we're a building products company that has a high level design. But I would say, most importantly, we have replaced wood detailing with a synthetic. And that's what we do. We detail a home and go for that traditional look with a synthetic product that gives you low maintenance. That thing that everybody building talks about. I hear it on so many other conversations with people talking about building products. It's all about, like, how can I have a house that's full of detail that is not going to be where I need somebody constantly working on my house.
And this isn't something that you you invented the way to do it, right? But this idea of decorating your house is not something that's new, or you didn't come up with that. It started, and I only know this from working with you, it started when they first built the first dwelling, right? It was like pure functionality. And over time, it became craftsmanship, and it became beauty, and it became, how can we make this nicer and more pleasing to the eye?
How can I show opulence?
Yeah, right? Exactly.
The wealthy wanted to differentiate themselves from the other classes. That's just the world that we live in, man.
Right.
It's like, how can I keep up with the Joneses?
Right.
And that's like,
that was
like
always wood and stone, but
Yeah.
mostly wood, the little details.
and metal.
Right? And metal.
And like, the reality is, we build an environment, that people are comfortable in. We build a home that they show up to every day, where they want to, feel comfortable. And that's part of what we do, is we create something beautiful that gives them a place where they feel like comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's an easy way to explain a lot of what we do. I'm not an interior contractor, so it's all what you see from the outside, and it's the outdoor living experience more than like what the guys that do indoor, you know, electronics and smart home and kitchens and appliances and plumbing fixtures. And so when you get into all that, that's like the real comfort of the inside of the home,
Right.
and how you experience your day-to-day living. For us, it's like, how do you see the structure? How do you see the home that somebody lives in, and the outdoor amenities and how that world interacts with how they live.
Right. So this design feature on the outside was hundreds, probably thousands of years old. And then when did this idea of using synthetics, like how new is that?
Well, I mean, synthetics have been around for a long time, but the real functionality or the ability for them to perform, you know, like people started using plastic and it was having failure. People were using foam and having failure. People were using metals and having failure. So it's like this long developing story of exterior building materials and technology and shared ideas that created better and better products. And that, you know, that's the story of life, right? Like shared ideas, that's how we improve, you know? So like, no, I didn't invent exterior design. No, I didn't invent PVC, free foam PVC that I build with every day. And like none of that is anything that we've created. What we created was our own way. Because there's other people that do it. I'm like, we're not like the only people, you know what I mean? That's obnoxious. But the reality is we do it our way. We've been doing it for 25 years. We're this small little tight group of people that are like showing up to the factory or the place every day and like getting together and like, all right, a client comes to us and says, hey, I want you to do this. And we say, well, we don't do that really, but we can look at it and figure it out. And that's what you do. And we learned so much from the architects and the designers and what other people are doing. And then we take it all and we piece it all together into our own way of doing things. You know, and so I would say building materials and the innovations of construction or anything out there is shared ideas and people like making things better, and then you learn from what they did.
Right.
You know, when the guys came to me, just like Versatex, you know, like 12 years ago, the owner shows up and he had like this bag of tricks, and it was these different products and different things that he had learned from his life of building. And he's showing me these ideas, and I'm like, oh my God, I never even thought of that. You know? But he brought a material that was like the other guys that I was buying from already. And the CNC out in my factory I was already using and cutting and doing the way we were doing. But his ideas came into play, and then they transformed things that we do, just like Royal or AZEC or the metal roofing guy or the architect that I worked with or the builder or the client that told me a story about something that they saw when they were on an island somewhere.
Everything's just a development on top of the development.
Yeah,
right?
It's a constant improvement.
Right.
I mean, I could go down all the stereotypical things that you can say about life and building a company and building products, but that's what it is. It's constant improvement and shared ideas and thoughts. And people that work with you having their own vision of things and dropping that at the table.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, wow, no, that's a great idea. I remember when my brother changed the way we were doing things, because I had a 2-part mixture that I was putting inside of our components to give it rigidity. And he's like, why don't we do this? And it was just like, boom, changed the whole process of how we build.
So take us a little bit further back, right? Because you were doing like property restoration, like flood restoration, right? And like mold and stuff. And that's how you found this synthetic product that then you started like coming up with new products based on that. So because some people might look at you and they see the houses and they see the factory and they're like, he must have been born like that, you know, he must have just woke up one day and that's what it was. And if you go back 20 years, you were just another Joe Schmo trying to figure it out, you know, and I think people need to hear that.
Well, I mean, like, so when kids they're in high school and they're freaking out, right? And they're like, what am I going to be? Where am I going to go to college? What am I going to learn? I was the same. Like, I was a kid and I had no idea what I wanted to do. but I had the ability to talk and not be afraid to communicate, you know. So I had a job working for one of my friend's fathers in a restoration business, you know, and, you know, I started learning construction, and I was, you know, selling jobs, and, you know, everything is a learning process. My father worked for Ford Motor Company, and my grandfather built teak parts for boats. So I have nothing from previous generations that taught me this. And this is something that was built over time. You know, when I first started in this, I didn't know what a 16 penny nail is. Now I spec fasteners. You know, like, it's a constant thing, you know, where me and my brothers, we kind of just like, we're four guys working together, doing something that was the same every day. When we found Hardy Siding, we started doing something that was the same every day. And that is how you get better in life.
Right. Instead of bouncing from one thing to another. Yeah.
Trying to be everything for everybody is the number one fail in business. The number one way to fail in business is trying to appease everybody else's needs. You need to appease your needs. You need to figure out what's good for you, and then do it great for others. You know, so to go back to, like, you know, where this all comes from, it comes from being one thing, realizing I couldn't do it that way, finding something else that I could get good at, and then just getting hyper-focused on it. And then the team, because none of this was done by me, it's always, when I say I, is we. You know what I mean? But when we started all doing this together, we just got better, and things got more creative. And my brother Matt was good at this, and my brother Mike was good at this, and Gene was good at that, and Lionel was great at this. And, you know, and then the team developed and became this group that just, all right, we're good at this. And we just laser focus, kept doing the same thing. And then, you know, we realized building in wood in a tropical environment is not the best material. It can be done, not the best material. And that's where we got into synthetics. We started, you know, building things that we knew were going to be better. And the doors were closed for years. People were like, I don't want that. I've been building for 30 years with wood. So we were introducing something new in this Florida market. It's a stucco and foam and metal market. You know, like, that's, and wood. And that's the market that Florida was forever. And when we started talking about plastic, I mean, people are like, no, I don't need that shiny plastic. It looks fake.
It's too perfect.
It's too perfect.
Yeah.
And now it's just a spec'd product, you know. It's learned reality. It's like, you know, the next generation comes in, the son is working with the dad, and he's like, hey, Dad, you know, we could buy this. This is a really, I mean, I can't tell you how many next generations I'm working with after being in business for 25 years.
Right.
I worked with their father or their grandfather, and now I'm with the next generation or the third generation, and they're like all in on like this. No, this is how it's supposed to be done. Right. When you work around the building, when you walk around the builder show and see all the products, 90% of it's synthetic now.
So how did you deal with that rejection, so to speak, you know, in the beginning, when you know this is a superior product because you've worked with the other products for 10 plus years, and then you know that this is a better product, but people are more used to this other product. How did you deal with that? Like, getting them to buy, you know, just being persistent? Like, how did that work out for you?
Well, I'm a warm-blooded male, and rejection's something that we have to deal with. You know, I've been dealing with, being a salesperson, you know, like that's the number one thing you have to learn being a salesperson is rejection. So I was dealing with rejection constantly. Then it was like, your price is too much. You know, it wasn't just the product. If I was coming in with that product cheaper, I could have probably sold a lot easier, but we were more expensive because the material is expensive. PVC is not inexpensive. The stuff you buy at Home Depot, like certain products like that most people think PVC are, that's inexpensive. But when you start getting into free foam cellular PVC, what we build with, it's like 3x wood. 3x marine grade plywood. You know, so we're already starting out with an expensive material, and then on top of it, there's all the labor and everything that goes into producing it. So selling value is what I had to learn how to do. You know, the rejection was a lot of it because I wasn't maybe saying it right or explaining it right or presenting it right, you know, and through time, we were able to display value. And it took a long time. This has been a long road. I mean, the success of our product is coming in the last 7 years,
Right.
probably 5 if you really look at it on a scaling percentage and growth. You know, the reality is the world has really gotten into synthetics. You know, the number one selling outdoor pergola is metal. You know, every restaurant now is putting metal louvered roof, solar protection systems with, you know, really high-end setups. You know, everything has gone away from the old, and we are in a very much new world of building. And that's because we learn. When you buy something, a lot of my clients are second homeowners.
Right.
When you're a second and third homeowner, you learned on where you saved your money on your first house and how you had to fix it and replace it. A lot of the people that I deal with come from the north. And in the Northeast, they've been dealing with synthetics longer than down here. That was the number one market forever. If you wanted to sell PVC in America in the 80s and 90s, or I'm sorry, that's going back, in the early 2000s, you know, you were doing it up there. That's where the trim world is, because that's a stick frame, wood frame construction. Down here, we're in concrete. You know, so putting stuff on, that's all stuck on foam. You know, so it was a big sell, and you know, the reality is the portfolio. I used to show up with a 3-ring binder of pictures that I took of houses and be like, yeah, I can make your house look like this. And so I think that's really what turned people, was seeing somebody that could deliver something on a higher level.
Where do you think that motivation came from, or that persistence? Was it knowing that you had the best product, like knowing that you had the superiority, or was it just out of, because I feel like if it was just out of trying to get money from someone, where you're just sales commission focused, like, you know, somebody's selling some car or something where they have nothing invested in the product, their only investment is getting that money from you, that motivation runs out pretty quickly, right? But for you to have this longevity and this persistence, it has to come from somewhere deeper. And I mean, where do you think that comes from?
Never. We just don't want to fail. So that's the number one. You know, I never wanted to fail in life. Failure was something that, you know, I fought to not deal with. It took me a while to understand what you just said, because when I started my business, I was young. I didn't understand what I was doing. I just didn't want to work for somebody else because I had issues in that environment. And I chased money. And I would say that's probably why I wasn't successful.
Right.
That whole thing. Like what you just said is the crux of it all. Like if you're chasing money and that's your goal, you're probably not going to win. But if you're chasing something that you believe in, you know, and you're working towards bettering something, and you're with a group of people that all believe in the same mantra and have the same belief in what they're doing, you know, I think that's when success comes. You know, and failure, I dealt with it for a long time, but it was at my own peril. Like I created my own failure. I made moves, or I did something wrong, or I didn't run my business properly and I failed. But when we started doing this, we were the only guys doing it. This style architecture, nobody was really doing it. I've had several people like, I don't even like, this is not a business. This is not sustainable. Who wants PVC rafter tails? This look is a fad. And I remember people saying that. And the reality is that so many great architects and so many people of wealth that were building on the intercoastal and on the ocean or in the islands. So many of these people love this look. And so the clients that were coming to us were great. The people designing the houses that we were working on were great. We weren't a production home outfit. Right. We were building castles and we were building amazing things. So that is what developed the pride. Is like, I might not have made money, but man, when I looked back at the house, I was like, look at what we did. Look at what we did. Look at what we built. Like, that's amazing. Like, how are we even allowed to attach our name to that? And right. That, I think, was the driving thing for me and my brothers, is that we were building things. They were so amazing. They were so out in left field, like so unique. And nobody was doing it. Nobody. We had one competitor, and they were a roofing company. And they would put a little bit of siding on. You know, we competed with lumber yards, guys that would, you know, buy from a fabricator scrolled wood rafter tails. You know, so we were really unique. And I think that was one of the things that was one of the smart little things that I did in life, was finding a niche, finding something unique, and exploiting that opportunity. And then working with these great architects and with these great builders and having these long relationships. Like, I became a student of the game. My brother became a student of the game. Like, we loved it. We started creating stuff and we started getting into it. Kind of got nerdy about it. Like, oh, that's terrible proportioning. Like, that's a bush league looking rafter tail, you know, like kind of nerdy, but like in the same respect, like we really learned and honed our craft, and that propelled us to have a different view, a different goal, and you know, it became, circling back to what you said, it became a thing where we were working to make beautiful homes. We were working to create this company where the people that were in it all were elevating and all getting better, and we all were making money, and we were all working. I think homogeneous is the wrong word, but we were like this united group. You know, Elon Musk, you know, said this thing, cybernetic, or what did he say? Cybernetic collective. I believe that's what and like, when he said that, and he was talking about manufacturing and like the company he was creating, like taking machines and people and building great things. And if now when I look at our company, that's what I see. It's all the same people that we started with. We have very low burnout or people leaving us. Like most everybody that's been from the beginning, unless they've moved on to great things, which I always say, hey, don't do a lateral move. Vertical, go make your life. But like, so we were like this group, and we've stayed together, and we were adding machines and creating more unique things, and we've become more powerful together, you know, to where now it's like, I don't even do sales. I used to do all the sales. Lionel doesn't do design. We have a design team now. We have a sales team. We have all these other components, but they're people that we've worked with so long that we're all like-minded in like what our goals are and what we're doing. And I think, you know, that is like what scaling is, and creating and manufacturing in 2023 is all about people and machines and being innovative. That's manufacturing. Yeah. And that's why Elon Musk is crushing it at Tesla. That's what, you know, like you could go through all the best companies. Decimal Engineering, it's a company that's in one of my manufacturing association. And they do what other people do, but they just bought more machines that made them stronger and better. And then the people are more jazzed up to work together and come and create. And so they're making better products and getting more clients and creating this bigger world because they're making great products. And I think that's the story for every successful company, manufacturing for sure, is people first, then machines, and then culture. You know, you got to have the people, and so I guess culture falls in with that. But the machines are so important.
Right.
Like, they changed us.
So you feel like when you were going through that innovation phase 15 years ago, 10 years ago, as you started hitting that like parabolic curve, it was buying that first CNC, it was buying the paint machine,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was like getting these tools that you needed in order to be more effective. But then you said like you always had this inclination towards talking to people and communicating and sales and stuff. But did you feel like you had to learn leadership? Did you have to learn how to bring people together and get them to work?
So I was always like a people person. So I feel like people believed in me, like I could talk, but like talk is cheap, kind of.
But were you that friend like when you were a teenager? You're like, guys, let's do this, and everyone's like, all right.
Yeah. Like I could get like people rip roaring for a couple hours, but to get them to follow me into the dark abyss, like that's a whole other level. And I think like, yeah, like the success in my life, number one comes from like my partner. You know, like I have like a true north. I have somebody that sees the world from a whole different perspective than me, which grounds me and gives me the ability to make mistakes and be corrected before they really turn into bad mistakes.
You and Lionel are like right brain and left brain.
Yin and yang. I mean, like it's like this thing. I don't know what yin and yang means, but like that's what we are, like that shape.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's special to work with your brother like that, man. I mean, and you have two other brothers you work with too, but I mean, to have like the co-leadership of two different brothers that are so different and so intelligent in different ways, that's like a very unique thing.
Yeah. I you know, Lionel, yeah, I always say it, and it's like stupid to like knock myself. I'm very self-deprecating, but Lionel's the brains of the operations. Like he learned the computers and the machines, and like he does things that's just not how I operate. You know, I can sell and build and create, and so can he. But like he was really good at that. You know, and I think like that is like the strength of this company and the necessary part in businesses. It doesn't always have to be a partner, but it has to be a leader that can step back and allow others to excel and check him. Because you can be a sole proprietor and you can be the Jeff Bezos, all right? But you have to have a group of people around you that are strong, and the predictive index tells you that. Like when you psychologically look at people you're hiring, like there's the A's, B's, and C's, and there's like things that you want your certain people that you're going to work with. If you're an A, you kind of need an A in the CFO position to offset like some of your bad. You need like these strengths and weaknesses in all different people that offset the things that you do. You know, my weakness is in paperwork, so I needed a super powerful paperwork type thing. And Lionel, like all the things I was bad at, he was good at. You know, all the things that I'm bad at in the field, Matthew's good at. You know, like I have in my life, there's moments when I'm meeting with a client and we're talking about certain things, and I can talk about it, but like if I have to get it to real world work on it, like if I have to actually create it, like I want my brother Matt. I want Matthew. Like when I created our new wall paneling, Matthew was on vacation. Lionel said, you got to do it. I'm busy. And I went over and I was doing it, and it took me like 4 times. I like ruined things. I kept making mistakes, and I like forgot to do like little things. And so I eventually figured it out. I can figure it out. I'm not a dummy. But Matthew, like he comes in and has always been there for me for 20 years. You know, always been there for me on those things. And Lionel's always been there for me on those other things. And Mike's, you know, it's like the strength of me is the people around me. The strength of humans is the people around them. You know, no one's ever going to do it on their own, you know, and that's something that the ego, when I first started this business, I wasn't that guy. So when you ask me like the things that changed over time, or did you learn to become a leader? Abso-freaking-lutely. The kid I was when I started this, and the way I thought about people, the way I thought about employees, I had learned from bad leaders. So my leadership skills stunk. And so through time, having my true north, Lionel being like, dude, that's not how you do it. No, you can't act like that. Dorothy saying, no, you can't put that in that. You, like, all these people started working at it. And then I joined this thing called Vistage, where I'm a part of a CEO group. And like, so I started learning from other leaders that were doing great things. So my life has been this journey of success and failures, more failures than success. But the success has been so great that it's gotten us to this point, and it's from all these other people around me. You know, the people you surround yourself with are what you become. Mm-hmm. It's a fact. I didn't know that when I was younger. I learned it later in life. I thought I knew more than my dad. I thought I knew more than my bosses. I thought I knew more than my brother. I thought I knew more than my wife. What I learned is that I know some things, but not more than anybody. Like, there's always something I can learn from everybody I interact with.
It's like having that respect of knowing that someone else knows something more than you, and allowing that to be, rather than trying to like dominate everything.
And the ego of a leader typically doesn't allow that. The ego of the leader, that's typical why the sheer volume of failures in companies. If you look at the amount of companies that succeed in this world, it's astronomical how many fail.
Right.
And that's because leaders or people that start companies have egos that they can't check at the door and understand that there's somebody else that's just as smart as them or smarter that could help them, but they think they know it all, and therefore they make the mistakes that are the demise of their business. And the reason that I'm sitting here today talking into this microphone is because I was able to learn to check my ego and learn from others and let other people really take the reins on a lot of things that I'm not good at.
So how do you translate that to someone, let's say they're 25, 26, you know, because when you're 20, it's like you got 5 more years of whatever, you know. So let's say you're 25, 26, and you're like starting to try to figure out what that thing is you're good at, you know, because that's like step one. You got to figure out what you're good at and like kind of what your strengths are. But how does that person apply what you just said as far as finding the right people to surround yourself with? Like, how do you go about doing that? You know, is it like
there's groups,
right? Finding groups.
There's groups. Listening to your parents, if you had good parents, or if you had good mentors. Finding a mentor. You know, I surrounded, like when I was young, man, like I saw the people in my dumb little world succeeding at what I thought was success, but it wasn't success. But to me, they were leaps ahead of me. So I was like, oh, that's great. So I respected that. And to answer your question, don't respect false idols. Don't chase false idols. Don't allow things that are shiny and bright confuse you from the reality of life. Nerds rule. The reason nerds rule is because when they're going through life, they're doing all the nerdy things to get better, and then they win at the end because they grind it. You know, like Catch Me If You Can, like Christopher Walken says, like 2 mice fall into a bucket and the 1 mice lives because he keeps churning till he turns it into cream and he can get out. You know, like that's life. Like you have to just work, and you have to do the right thing, and you have to sacrifice, and you have to, maybe it's not the cool thing like going to Ibiza, you stay and do something, you know, like, or you don't go out partying with your friends on the weekend because the following Monday you have somewhere you need to be and you need to have the right frame of mind. Like, not chasing the shiny things in life and going for the things that are humble and solid and true. Those are the things you want to go after. And you want to listen to smart people. You want to listen to people that are doing it. I wish I would have done that at a younger age. Like, hindsight 2020, I would have probably listened to a lot of other people that I didn't think were as cool, but they had a real grounded way of living.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like you're 25 and you meet a guy who's like 45 and he has like 2 kids and a big house and a great job, and you're like, yeah, but whatever, you know.
You're just a dad.
Yeah. Like you're like, what do you know?
This guy's got a boat, he's got a car, he's got this company that's like,
right.
Just churning, but really it was all fake. And that guy really didn't succeed. And the guy that was at home with his kids working hard on his company and being a good dad was the real success story. And that's like the thing that you learn as you get older, you know. And now I surround myself with really strong people, and I don't I know it's weakness now. I know what a weakness is. I know what bad things are. I know what I shouldn't be around. I have the age and the stature and the learned life skills to understand that these are the people I need to be around, and this is the way I need to learn, and these are the things that I want to be like.
I guess the wisdom with age tells you that you're going to be influenced by the people around you no matter what. You don't choose to be influenced by the people around you. You can just choose the people around you, because no matter what, they're going to influence you.
Influence you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. It's funny because, like, we were just talking about this, and I think, like, about age and all. It's not age. It's mindset.
That's a good point.
I have a 19-year-old daughter who only surrounds herself with good people.
Because she started listening to you.
No. I promise you, she is more like her mother. That's for sure. But I just started thinking about that. Like, she has told friends, I can't be your friend, because they were causing problems or they were bringing drama to her life. And the maturity of that is something I never exuded. I never had that. But so I don't think it's about age. I think it's about mindset, and I think about being smart and, seeing things that you don't want to be like. Like, my daughter probably learned a lot from her father and I. The things that she saw, like, oh, dude, those guys, that's not cool. Like, they shouldn't be like that. That's probably not the right thing. And then she, therefore, doesn't drink. She doesn't smoke. She doesn't do anything. She's kind of nerdy. But nerds rule the world, man. Like, she has so much in her to understand, like, she's not going to follow false idols. Right. She's going to stick to the rhythm of her own drum and do her own thing. And, like, so if I was looking at, or somebody was asking me, what would you tell somebody young what to do? I would say, go to the beat of your own drum. Surround yourself with great people. Learn from your elders, because everything my father and mother and grandparents taught me was all true. It might have been dated in some way, but
That's really interesting too, though. Like, you married Deborah when, how old was Murphy and Caroline?
Murphy was like 10. Caroline was like 7.
And you were like 30 something.
Yeah, I was 36.
Right. So here you are, a guy, you go from being single, no kids, to now you're married with 2 kids. Right?
Just add water, bro.
So what is that, like, what did that do to you? You felt like it matured you? It made you more loving, more...
Yep. That is the thing I learned. You're always learning, right? But, like, my son and daughter taught me probably the most valuable thing, and that was to love something more than myself. And when you do that, you operate differently. When you're just egocentric and everything's about me, which I lived 36 years like that, or probably 38 or 39, because it took me a little while.
Years into it.
It took me a little while. But when you start to love something more than yourself, and you start to put other people first, and it's just like business, putting your customer and your product or your people before you and your money.
Right.
Putting, like, learning, like, from your kids, like, no, they're more important. What they need is more important. What my wife needs, the house, all those things are more important than me having fun. And it's business and life. They're very symbiotic. They're very similar in the way you have to operate them. A good home, a good business, they're pretty much ran the same way.
Makes
You
sense.
know, I mean, that's just a fact that it just took me a long time to learn that. You know, I was lucky to meet my wife. You know, it was really lucky because she started changing me in the rough edges. She started just polishing me up a little, and she gave me the kids, and I started really loving. And Murphy being autistic, you know, like he taught me so much, because like when you start thinking about people that, you know, like live on this planet that don't even have a choice, they can't even. You know, there's so many people out there that wake up every day and they don't have the choice to do anything. They just have to do what life gives them. We have the opportunity to go seek and gain and accomplish and conquer and achieve. And like that's the beauty of life for some of us. Right. You know, so I learned that from Murphy, you know, like how lucky I am to be able to just get up and do my thing. You know, then, you know, you start, you know, life is about like seeing, like you start to learn like what life is. And it kind of sucks for me that it took so long, you know, and that's why I do have those serious conversations with my daughter, you know, because I want to like tell her like, hey man, if I knew this, if I just knew this a little bit, you know, I would have done so much better. So I try to like sprinkle that in. I don't want to try and teach her because she's very stubborn. In a beautiful way, but like I don't want to make her think that I taught her. I want her to like take my words and then put them into her life, and for her to exceed on it on her own. You know, she does that constantly. She hates learning from me. I remember when I took her skiing, I'm like, no, you gotta just go skiing like this. She's like falling over and just like the worst at skiing, and like, this, you know, I can't, you're the worst at teaching. And then I take her to the bottom of the hill, and I go to this ski school, and I'm like, hey, somebody help me with my daughter. And out comes like 16-year-old Bo, you know, some handsome, strapping, you know, young, blonde-haired ski instructor. And like all of a sudden she became a professional. And like she was so good at it. And like everything he told her, she was like just mimicking. And like,
you're like, I literally just said the same thing.
It's not the same thing. I mean, that's the funny thing. Like, it's like me when I go to Vistage, you know, and I sit with this CEO group, and they have all these like things written down that teach you and you're learning. And, you know, I come back and I'm like, Lionel, man, I learned this today at Vistage. He's like, yeah, dude, it's what I've been telling you for like 5 years, bro. Like, they should be paying me.
What is up with that, like that human thing to not want to accept the information closest to you, you know, like you have to hear it from a stranger or an outside source?
It's some kind of childhood trauma.
It's weird,
it's
man.
Some kind of weird thing, like, you know, like you don't believe your parents.
Right.
You'll believe the drug dealer on the corner over your mom and dad who gave you everything. You know, they feed you, clothe you, but this guy, you're gonna
you're gonna have a good time. Trust
absolutely,
me. Like, okay,
absolutely.
I'll have a good time.
You know, it's a I think it's a psychological thing that we go through in life, and you know, we just don't want to believe like the things that we're taught, like because we know better. We know better. I mean, I've that's happened to me throughout my whole life.
Right. So here we are, the strangers on the internet, you know, that like literally someone left a comment on one of the other podcasts that was like, this spoke directly to my soul. Like, this is everything I needed to hear. And it's like some kid that lives in some other state, never heard of him before, never met him, you know, but something in there clicked. So that's my purpose and my drive behind doing this, is like getting that stuff out. That 25-year-old me would have been like, man, this is what I needed to hear to take that next step, or to have that motivation to deal with the rejection and to follow through with my dreams, you know? So like, what's that piece of advice that you have for someone that's not, they don't even know what their dreams are, you know, but they know they don't like their job, or they don't like their current situation, and they have that desire for more, you know? What do you say to that person?
Well, we always have desire for more. Everybody, that's just a human thing, you know. When we have things, it's never enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's American opulence, I guess you would call it. But I think it happens everywhere. But for somebody that's like, trying to figure out what they want, I would say spend time looking, create an avatar. Create an avatar of what you think would be the greatest thing, or find an avatar, a human being that's living your life that you want to live, or the things that you think, and kind of like look at their lives, look at the world around us and all the opportunities, because there's tons, and kind of create an avatar of what you think is going to be the thing that makes you happy, and then try it.
Right.
I mean, when I started this business, I was doing something completely different. And then I did something completely different at that. I tried to start 2 or 3 companies while I started my first company. I was always looking at different options because I wasn't succeeding. And I said this in a business meeting the other day, like, we need to create an avatar for our client, our best client. And that's who we need to seek. We need to seek what's good for us.
Right.
So what's good for you as a kid is finding something that you're going to love. Don't, listen to all the talking heads on social media about how great they're doing and how they built something overnight and how they became millionaires.
And how they can teach you for $9.99.
It's what you need to find is something that you actually enjoy. And it might not be what your mom and dad do. It might not be what your uncle does. It might be what your best friend's father does or your best friend's mom.
Right.
And you just got to find something that suits who you are as a person. There's so many things in life to do, but the one thing that is the biggest waste of life is doing something for the wrong reason. Doing something just because it's supposed to be enriching financially. Because I'll tell you right now, you'll make your first million and you'll have it, and you'll be sitting there all alone wondering, why did I chase this? Because money didn't make me happy.
Right.
It made it nice. It's nice to have a nice house or a car or be able to go to dinner and do all that. But I'll tell you what, my whole life I chased and I chased. Like, as soon as I get this, I'm going to be happy. As soon as I get that, I'm going to be happy. I kept setting these things up in front of me, these like goals. And it's like, as soon as I get it, I'm going to be happy. And every time I got to those things, I realized that there's something missing. And happiness doesn't come from things. It comes from inside you and being at peace with who you are and what you do and your morality and how you treat others and how you treat the world and how you treat anything that's affected by you, And that, on the big picture, is the number one thing to figure out, is how to exist on this planet, be happy. That's the hardest thing in the world to do. Hardest thing in the world to do is to figure out how to be happy and wake up every day energized to go do something. Because you're always going to have that thing that wants to knock you down.
And I haven't heard you mention fear at all, right? Which I think is really interesting because, yeah, on one end you have the people who are just this constant, almost like an addict for life, where they just need more, and that has its own downsides, but it has a lot of upsides because it's almost like this momentum that will just pull you forward in life, right? But then there's a whole other group of people that are too scared to do anything, right? They have this desire to do something, but they're too scared to do it. The fear of the rejection of the trying to get the first customer, or the fear of what are my parents going to think if I don't want to go to college and I want to try doing this thing, or the fear of what if it just all fails and I run out of money and I have to sleep on the street. So do you think fear doesn't even come into the equation for you? I haven't really heard you talk about I was scared and I pushed through. You don't really talk about that.
Somewhere inside there's a scared little boy, little David. But I've hit rock bottom. I know that all so well. This guy sitting here is not like some polished, perfect angel that did everything right his whole life and arrived here and sits on top of a throne with all the success with no skeletons. You know, like, what I fear is not being respected.
Interesting.
But so I always want to do the right thing by everybody I can. I try my hardest. I tip so much because I want the waiter to think I'm a great guy. You know what I mean? Like, I do things because I fear not being loved.
It's like the desire to be liked and loved. The other side of that is the fear of not being liked and loved. Wow, that's interesting.
But I fear, like, nah, I've hit rock bottom, man. I've been broke. I've had to borrow money I've been, like, where I had, like, Taco Bell for 3 weeks. Or I was buying beans at Winn-Dixie on Power BOGOs, you know, like, buy one, get one free. Or, like,
Wow.
you know, we come from humble beginnings. Like, we've never been, like, people that had so much that, like, that's what people fear, is losing everything. But if you've come from, like, not having anything, having everything is just, like, a dream. You know what I mean? Like, what I have now is amazing. But what I realized the older I got is I already had everything before I got here. I got my parents that love me. I got 2 grandparents that are still alive. I got all my aunts and uncles that I grew up with still around. I mean, my brothers, I have 3 healthy brothers that I see every day. Like, all these things I had, and I was still chasing. I was always chasing that thing. And when I learned to stop chasing money and start to realize, like, there's more to life, those things started to create a different David that was able to work with people to create a better business and to be more focused on creating good things, having the customer, having empathy for others, worrying about how my employees' lives were, making sure that they don't need something. I remember when I first started this business, like, I'd ask somebody for $1,000, and, like, that was like going out on, like, yeah, I'll give you back 1,500. Like, please, can you please give me $1,000 so I can pay some guys at work that I owe for working. And now I do that for my employees because I know that feeling. You know, there's, like, such a relief. Like, when you have somebody you can go to that trusts you and cares about you, you know, and that's what this world has become over here. Like, we have this world where we're all together. Like, we don't argue. Like, the employees, the team just gets along. Everybody shows up and just does their thing. And to me, that's, like, the greatest thing that I could have ever been a part of creating.
That's cool.
Was a place where people feel safe and welcome and a part of something to create. Like, that has been the thing that I didn't even know I wanted.
Wow. Right, like, you're experiencing it and you're like, wow, I wanted this.
I wanted this. This is where I get high.
That's cool. That's contentment.
I did not know in my whole youth that I would get a better high from helping a handicapped kid than taking drugs. I got higher off of things that I had no clue brought you this thing inside. It's this beautiful thing that, like, it's a high. It's as great as a drug. The greatest drug I ever had, I have from helping others.
That's amazing.
You know, and that's something I've only learned in recent years. You know, and Murphy taught me that, and then being a part of this business and having the opportunity to help others. That's what this business is. It's a vessel to help others. It's a vessel that was created through success of doing things as a team that's now created an opportunity to help others and donate to things and be philanthropic and help the team and, like, educate others and give raises or promote. Like, these are things that You just don't know when you start a business are going to be the greatest part of the business.
So we talked about the beginning, right, of like, all right, getting the idea, finding the motivation, not focusing on money, focusing on the passion and the what you're doing for the world, and the, you know, being prideful in what you're doing, and that being its own motivation. But now let's talk about phase 2, right? Let's say like where I'm at, being self-employed, working with my wife, you know, we're being a small company. How do you go from that to 5 employees to 10 employees? You know, how does someone out there who maybe they have a job, but then they have this side hustle thing that's kind of working out, and they're like, well, I think I'm ready to do this full time. How do you find employees? How do you get them to do the job well and to take a responsibility in it and to find initiative? You know, how do you build that perfect employee?
By creating a world where they're going to be able to creating a world for them where they're going to be able to grow and accelerate themselves, which accelerates your company. You know, like creating a place where people are comfortable and they feel like they're a part of something, I think is how you create that synergy between employee and company. You know, where what they're doing doesn't have false promises. Isn't like something like, oh, I'm just doing it for him. You know, that's what Gary Vee, like, he's like so brilliant, like in that respect, like when, you know, so many respects, but like when he talks about like, don't expect your employees to work harder than you, you know, that I think is like I learned so much from him saying that.
Right.
You know, like, no, I'm here on Saturday at night or Sunday. I don't expect my employees like to work harder than me or to have as much drive, but to create a world where their hard work creates and pays dividends. Now that is how you build a business, where you create an environment for people to accelerate their lives, and they get to actually grow. They actually get to buy a bigger house. They get to take nicer vacations. They get to, and you know what? Why would they want to go work somewhere else if they're doing this and they have this great place where they're just doing great things and they're living a great life? Not everybody wants to own a company, but everybody wants to succeed. Everybody wants to elevate. Everybody wants to be proud. Everybody wants to feel like they did something. That's life. We want to feel like we accomplished something. And, you know, so creating an environment where people know that they can accomplish something and they can grow and be a part of something, that's the number one way to scale. Is create a world for people to grow.
And you feel like at the beginning you kind of had that in mind, or you were like, I just need this guy to do this?
Nah, dude, I failed miserably for probably 20 years. I mean, I feel like the only reason that I'm better is because of the people around me. Lionel and Dorothy and Mike and Matt and Gene and Bob and everybody giving me a hard time for being the knucklehead that was like, no, you got to do this. And we got to work harder. And we're not making it. We're not doing like that. David was the problem. This driven individual that was chasing money and accolades and growth, and I had benchmarks, financial benchmarks. We need to be a 20, we need to be a 50, we need to like, and I was putting these BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals in front of the company, and like everything was money and power and visually like, oh, we're the biggest. And when that was corrected, and we were just like, hey, let's just do this thing. Let's make it. Let's make beautiful stuff. Let's take care of our client. And honestly, when we started focusing on the people and the environment around here, everything changed.
Wow.
I said it the other day to my brother. I'm like, dude, everybody complains about employees and how nobody can hire anybody good. And like, we keep hiring people, and we're hiring for culture. We're hiring not for like that you have like this set of skills. You can teach skills. I've learned that from other entrepreneurs. Like, you got to hire people that fit the group.
Right.
That aren't going to come in and be the sour apple in the bunch. That come in and they're like, add to the machine. And that machine becomes greater. And the team becomes more powerful. And each piece, it's like building a transformer. It's like this thing. And it's like, by the end, it's like this huge, powerful thing because of all these different parts that made it better. You know, a company starts out with this simple little, you know,
That's crazy.
idea of like just being a business, and we're gonna make money, and I'm gonna pay the bills, and the four of us are gonna do it. But once you start getting past like 10, 15, 20 people, it really has to be this, like, it's bigger because you're not this tight small unit. Now we're a bigger unit that has to have processes and has all these rules and all these things. So the thing is creating a culture where the rules aren't like berated, you know, somebody yelling at you about rules.
Right.
It's like self-managing rules. Like people are a team, and they're like, hey, dude, nah, don't leave me sitting here trying to do this by myself. You're supposed to be here with me. Where were you for the last 15 minutes? When an employee has that conversation where everybody holds each other accountable and in check, that's when it just gets better, man.
Right.
The best business in the world is the U.S. Army, and it's these small little groups that keep each other in check, and they're all a part of this big thing, you know. And you have to be able to self-manage. You have to be able to, you know, keep everyone in check and go for something together. You know, that's the game. That's the game.
Where do you see the future going of the company? You know, there's AI doing designs of houses now and all that. I mean, what, like 3D printing? I mean, right now you guys are still, you have the sheets and then you're making it into products by hand with the machines, cutting it and stuff. But I mean, 5, 10, 20 years from now, what do you think it's going to become?
I mean, as technology advances, everything changes. You know, I think of robots all the time right now. I'm already looking at robots.
And you think it'll be robots doing what the humans are doing now rather than like some completely different form of
Cybernetic
manufacturing?
collective. The cybernetic collective is what I want to build. I want to, like when we were talking, it's like, find somebody you want to be like. I want to be like Steve Jobs. I want to be like Elon Musk. I want to create something where we just keep improving and we use machines and people. I don't want to get rid of my people and get machines. I want to get machines and have the people that I'm with run them and grow. And that's how I see the future. You know, 3D printing, all this stuff. Eventually, the world's moving so fast. Technology is amazing. You know, I don't even know the technology I'll be working with in a year or two. You know, I'm buying machines now that'll probably be outdated sooner than I know. But if the company's growing, you know, you just continue to change and evolve and adapt. And, probably 3D printing will, but it's not there yet. Mm. It's not at the speed at which we can do it. The way we have our machines and the way we have our processes, we're outperforming everybody else in relationships. In relation to that. So, you know, when I sit there and I talk with machine manufacturers, they're like, oh, you can do this. And I'm like, how many square feet can it produce an hour? And they're like, oh, we can do 1,000. I'm like, I'm doing 3 without a machine.
Right.
You know, so the machines have to be able to bring something great to change a whole process.
Yeah.
You know what they said, if it's broke, don't fix it. You know, like
so
when you got
how much time do you spend looking for that new piece of equipment or that new technology or that new advancement? I mean, are you like always looking for the new thing, or you just go to like the trade shows and see what comes out?
This week we bought a couple new machines, so it's like you ask me that and I'm like, yeah, but no. I think of things like, wow, this would be better if I had that. If I had something that can do that, that would change this. You know, my brother, the machine he bought, recently, he could have bought 2 machines, but we had to fit in a space. We didn't want to take up too much manufacturing floor space by eating it up with machines, so we bought a machine that took up less of a footprint. So you buy what you need that makes things better. Technology is always happening. The world is so fast. That's why you have to go to shows. That's why we were in shows for all these years, is because we were showing different things. Every year I go to a show, I'm showing something different. Every company in the world's like that, or every evolving company in the world's like that, you know? And I believe that's the greatness of who we all are, is we're constantly innovating. That's, I mean, the strength behind America. And I don't know why. I think it's because we're a melting pot of many nationalities. And we have so many different types of minds here. And we're always trying to outdo the Joneses or something. We're always competing to be better than the other company. So, you know, that's why this place is just constantly growing and innovating. There's so many companies that are competing to be better. Everybody wants to be better, and therefore they're creating more. I never will sit down and think I've won, because that's when you lose. I've always got to be innovating.
You've never arrived.
Never. You always got to be going. If you think you've won, you probably should sell, because somebody's going to pass you up.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, you know, one thing that I think is really cool about you is that you're in this industry that is, it has innovation, but it's not the most innovative industry, right? Building and construction they're kind of like the last ones to accept an innovation, because they're like, look, it's a building, it stands, leave it alone, you know. But you're always trying to innovate in every area that you can, right? And whether it's marketing or whether it's the technology that you use for the machines or the way that you deal with the customers, I mean, you're always trying to have the most forward advancement in all areas. So, like, other than the manufacturing side, what are some other areas of innovation that you felt like you've had to learn and adapt to your business and use?
Well, marketing. You want to talk about the speed of light, man. Like this, as soon as you think you're doing something on social media, right? Or when we first started making videos back in 2017 together, like, we were on the cutting edge for building materials, you know, like, so marketing and social media and how you deliver your story and your purpose and your products to the world is always changing. I mean, look at us. We're sitting here with microphones talking, you know, like this, when we didn't think of this in 2017. We were out droning stuff and showing people, like, hey, in high def, and telling a story. This is a different way to tell a story. It's all about how you deliver the story and get it. But that it's always changing. Mm-hmm. Delivering the story, the algorithm, which social media is working better, how you're doing it, who's doing it, what's the how many times are you supposed to post? How many SEO? I mean, that is probably one of the most difficult parts of a business right now. People don't realize that marketing changes so fast. You can be doing it the old way 3 months later.
Right.
You know, and the world we live in is just fast.
Yeah.
Everything's fast. Everything's changing constantly. And, you know, it's my brother he's always like, constant improvement, man. Gotta have constant improvement. You cannot think that your processes can't be changed. The products that we're making in this factory today are different than 3 months ago. Literally.
Wow.
Like, constantly improving. We're only getting better. We're only making more things better. And so that's that empathy. That's that desire to make something great for a client, not thinking about us and how, because every change I'm making costs me more money and it means lower profit margin, but it's knowledge. It's innovation.
And every time you get new equipment, you got to learn how to make it work, right?
It'll pay later.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing I would tell a kid. Don't try and like win day one, bro. Know that you're going to work hard and you're going to keep going at it and you're going to fail. And failure is the number one way to win. You know, I've failed so many times. I fail often. But failure teaches you the thing that's going to make you better. So that's how you have constant improvement. You have to fail. When you're talking to me about fear, I don't fear failure. I've lost more money than I've made. I've redone. I'm not saying I redo stuff all the time. We're not that bush league, but like I've remade things. I've had to do things over. I've failed so many times, in so many ways. Relationships I've failed. The way I've talked to people, the way I've communicated, I failed. The way I built something, I failed. The way I thought I was supposed to do something, I failed. The way I spent my money, the way I invested my money, the way I saved, the way I built the company. It's so many failures. But they all get you to where you're at. You're going to fail. And when you feel that burn, then it changes you, man, and you start doing something different. So I say fail often. Don't be a failure, but don't be afraid to fail. You know,
it kind of gets rid of the fear, right?
Yep.
The more you do it, the
Yep.
more you expose yourself to it.
Yep. It's an absolute truth, man. You know, I remember when we first started doing stuff and we were talking on camera, and like, you know, I wasn't afraid, and like that gave me so much confidence in other parts of my life. Being able to do the things that we were doing when I didn't know what I was doing and failing, we only got better. It's everything that has been going on in my life over the last 15 years, 20 years, has been failures that taught me how to do it. I'm not a college educated guy. I didn't go to a school on architectural millwork manufacturing. I've never been to a class on anything that I do. But I've learned from the greatest people in the world that do what we do. I've had such great mentors in architecture and design. I've had such great mentors in construction. I have the greatest mentor in a brother and father and a grandfather and a mother and a grandmother. You know, my education was the School of Hard Knocks, and failing to win. I failed to win.
Where do you think the that confidence comes from when you're filming yourself on the phone and you're talking to the phone and you're making little videos yourself, or like when you're filming with me and, you know, talking to the camera? Like, you seemed like, because I've kind of gone through this journey starting a YouTube channel, and like when you're behind the camera, it's so easy to be like, yeah, do it again. As soon as you're in front of the camera, you're like, man, am I doing this right? You have all these doubts, all these fears come up, all this like self, you know, the criticisms come up and everything. So do you feel like you kind of had to go through that journey at the beginning of like accepting what you look like? You know, I know that was one of the first things for me, like seeing myself on camera. I was like, I guess I have to just accept this, you know? And so like, tell me about that journey for you.
You know, it's the story of checking that ego, man. You know, like the videos you see that I share, that's 1 of 30. You know, like understand social media world, like half of it's fake. You know, the reality is I probably have, I think in my phone at any time, 600-700 videos. I've only probably posted 50 to 100. So you're gonna overanalyze everything. I think that the number one thing that I learned working with you and doing this is like, just be authentic, be you, just be your version, your best version of yourself. Talk as if you're not in front of a mic or in a TV camera. Talk as if you were at that business meeting where you're super confident, where you're talking about things you know. You're explaining the way you feel about the situation or the project or whatever you're going to be working on, and just be 100% authentic as much as you can. I find myself all the time like making stupid faces when I'm talking to the camera. I'm like, dude, you're such a clown. And that's the 500 videos that I don't play because I see the unauthentic Dave. And I'm like, I will not share the world.
Why are you acting like that?
No, it's such, you know, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that that's what anybody would say that has any kind of skill in communicating via camera or podcast or social media or acting on stage or in a movie. Like those people, the reason they get paid all that money is because they can look authentic.
Right.
They can cry on a dime. They can be themselves and not be themselves, but they can look real. And I think people, the human being, like a dog, can sniff out the bad character, the bad actor. People see the fake. They see the, the BS.
Right.
So being true to yourself and like, say the words that you actually mean. In this conversation, I've said so many things that I've learned from other people. So it makes me feel like I'm saying something fake because they're not my organic words, but they're
believe
from,
in it.
but I believe them from the people that have taught me this stuff, that I believe in them. The people I've surrounded myself have taught me so many things, and I'm able to say it with conviction because I believe it, and I know that these are things that when I heard them, I was like, bing, wow, that's incredible. Oh, I love that. And those things that I love, they stay in there. Your mind wants to get rid of memories, but it wants to keep all the good ones. Your mind's constantly fighting to keep the good memories and get rid of the bad ones. The thing is, the things that affect you the most are the ones that you remember. So the bad experiences are always in there. You'll always remember the really bad things. But when you can create an ability in your mind to keep the really good things and share that, like, that's, to me, the power of communication. The power of somebody is when they're able to communicate things that they've learned, that they love and believe, and then they're helping others because they were helped by those words, because none of us really speak everything that what we create.
I think it's interesting you brought up being an actor and being yourself, and how professional actors, they build this skill of being yourself, even if that self is a different self than what they normally are, right? But it's like a skill that they develop. But it seemed like you, from the beginning of working together and filming and stuff, you got access to your true self right away, right? Which kind of is an insight in there, because we all have access to that. You have access to being your true self, which would be like a highly paid actor learning that skill of being an actor, putting all the years in, playing you as the character. They could do you as good as, any of the top actors, but you can do you at that high level instantly with no skill as an actor, just because you have access to your true self, right? And so how do you break down those walls of the fear of what'll people think, or this learned behavior of like, this is how I act in front of certain people, but is that my true self? How did you break down to that raw character that you are and be your true self? Because that's what everyone says when they see your videos on LinkedIn and they see the videos on YouTube. They're like, man, he's that guy. Everyone says that about you. So like, where did that come from? How did you get access to that?
Because I only can sell things that I believe in, and I can only talk about things with conviction on things that I believe in. When I'm talking about something I don't believe in, you can see it. I'm not a good liar. I've suffered from imposter syndrome forever. As much as I am good at, I'm good at what I do for HB, because I believe in HB. I believe in my team and my brothers and the people and the products. Outside of that, I can really kind of squirm, not have the same comfortability. I'm really in my own skin when I'm in construction, building, talking business, like the things that I've developed over the last 20 years. That's where my strengths are. As soon as I'm out of my strength, I'm like, I don't have that comfort, and I don't feel like I convey things that I don't believe in or that I don't have true knowledge on. Like, it will show in my face. It will show in my words. It'll show in my appearance, So I think everything, all the strengths of what I do in communication are that I'm communicating things that I believe in. I've had so many times, and I think this is why I have imposter syndrome, because selling for years and talking to clients, like, some people are like, think I'm lying. They think I'm BSing them. Like, oh yeah, he's over the top. This guy's over the top. But I'm over the top because I believe. and I'm so into it. And I'm trying my hardest to sell something because everybody around me is counting on that. The whole business, all the team, they believe in me, and they're relying on me to do my job for all of us to succeed.
So you have this sense of responsibility.
I have a massive...
And that's its own motivation?
Yes, and I have a massive sense of responsibility, and this is where, you know, my depression and things can start affecting me in life because I'm afraid of not succeeding, not for me, but for the whole thing. This whole people, all these people that believe, that show up here every day and believe in what we're doing. You know, if I fail, I'm failing them. So I have a real fear of that. And that's a driver for me to do my best in communicating the story and communicating to a client why they need this. Because we make beautiful stuff. Everybody knows what we make is beautiful. They see it. They see the pictures. They see the videos. They know. But it's my job to convey the value and get them to buy in. And there's a lot of pressure on that. There's a lot of pressure on that. And the thing I love the most about a company growing is that pressure is less and less on me. And it's starting to spread out amongst other people within the company. And that has been part of my peace. You know, people, I was at Vistage the other day, and like they were like, so how do you feel? You know, what's going on? I said, and they said in one word, I said, at peace. Is that 2 words? But I'm at peace because I feel like for the first time in my life, it's not all on me. Taking care of my kids, it's not all on me. I have a wife that's got a great job, and she's brilliant and hardworking, so I don't have to worry about the family and my house. Here at work, I have 15 people in the office now that operate this business. It's not on me. It's not on Lionel. It's on us. And when you start to spread that weight, like anything else, it just lowers the threshold of anxiety. You know, and I'm loving that. But I always build more other reasons for me to have anxiety because I want something more. I'm going to go chase another crazy goal, what'll put pressure on me. But now, like, you know, I do feel that there is a sense of spreading the load.
That's good. Which
puts less pressure, and I highly recommend that to anybody in the world out there doing a business, is get people around you that can take the load. Don't put it all on you and think that you need to carry the team. Get people around you that can help you carry. And that's how you know, that answers that other question that we were talking about earlier. Like, scaling is about developing people around you. We just had a speaker come to us at Vistage, and it was about scaling. And everybody, when the guy left, he was talking about people and hiring and how to manage them and how to hire people and what type of people you need. And everybody's like, dude, I thought he was gonna like come in here and teach us how to scale our companies and like make this thing like how do you get big? And I drove home, and we have this WhatsApp thread, and we're all like yeah, he kind of sucked, and like, he didn't really teach us. And I'm like, guys, maybe scaling is all about the people. Maybe that's how you scale a company.
It's like simpler than whatever.
Yeah, you're not like gonna go out tomorrow and negotiate the multi-billion-dollar deal with this company that's gonna scale you. You got to scale the people, get everybody to buy in on the purpose and the why and the how. And the more that you get other people that can do similar like actions as you and the best of the business, that's the scalability. Is the people, improving the people, which improves the company, which more people can go to different places and do the same thing over and over. That's why McDonald's is the most successful thing in the world, because they have the same people. You eat a fry in Chile or in London or in Quebec, the same fry, same burger, same chicken nugget. That's scaling. It's the people doing the same thing over and over in different places. And when I said that, it was like the light bulb, because everybody was like, you know, where's the silver bullet to scaling? And I think we all missed it in listening to the story, wanting something more and looking over the truth of it, that scaling is about people.
It's like right in front of you. So I have this question for you, right? This is a off-topic thing. If you were in a cage, would you rather be, to survive, right? You can't run away because you're in a cage. Would you rather fight a gorilla, a tiger, an anaconda, or a bear? Which would you think you'd have
All
the best
four
chance?
Tremendously scary. You know, like, so I would think, like, what would make, which one of them would be weaker in a cage? That'd be the first thing I'd try to figure out if I was trying to make this decision.
I feel like the snake would kill you right away.
The anaconda just squeeze you in the corner. But I also think, like, all of them, you know, would get you. The gorilla, I mean, can I appease anybody? Can I, like, make them laugh? You know, can I start putting on my show to get, like...
The gorilla gets all distracted.
Can I distract them somehow? Like, what would be my magic there?
I think a tiger would just kill you in one
swipe.
Yeah,
he'd just cut you in half. A bear would probably just want to eat you. The gorilla would probably tear you apart, but maybe a gorilla being the most intelligent form of life.
Be like, hey,
maybe
man.
you can be like, maybe you could look him in the eye and he's like, whoa, wait, this guy's actually, and like, I think I would have the best chance communicating with a gorilla, because it's the least like an animal and more like a human, and I have more opportunities to get along with humans than any other thing that I've ever.
I could see that.
I would definitely, my answer, final answer, gorilla.
Really?
Because I would think that maybe I'd have a shot at hitting his inner intelligence,
his empathy,
and maybe I could get
winning him over.
Maybe I could put some puppy dog eyes on him or something, or rub his back or something. You know, like start scratching something really good.
Dude, anaconda would be the worst one though.
Nah, because
it would just get you and then start wrapping around you. Like there would be no chance. It'd be zero chance.
I kind of feel like a tiger is not, you know.
Like that thing would be so fast.
My cat, like every time he's backed in the corner, he attacks.
Right?
I think the gorilla would not be cool,
Yeah.
But give you the best chance.
At least it has hands and not claws, you know. But still, the fingernails. Maybe it has sharp fingernails. I never thought about that.
Maybe there's some empathy in that little guy. Maybe that guy's got some empathy.
So if you could go back, do you think you would go to college and get a master's degree in architecture or anything?
So I've said this before, so I know the answer is I wish I would have went to college and learned a skill, because in my time, colleges taught you a skill that when you came out would pay dividends. You know what I mean? Like today it's like saturation. Mm-hmm. You know, like there's so many people with skills and there's so much that I don't think you get the same thing out of college, although it's a great way to go. But I also think like I might have met a different caliber friends.
Right.
So I surrounded myself with people that didn't go to college. My friends were people that were more uneducated, more rough, and therefore, you know, weren't the greatest examples or, you know, support system. So, you know, the college part would be, you know, my brother, he went to college and a lot of his friends are like educated, better type people, more their moral compass is a little different. I don't know. I just think they look at the world a little different from a different angle. Not saying that educated people are better. That's not my point. I just think that professional people could have probably helped me a little bit more when I was younger. Maybe the relationships, you know, maybe somebody would have seen me as a great salesperson and said, hey, come work for me at my insurance company. And right now I'd be, you know, CEO of like a $1 billion insurance company instead of out here slinging product. But that all being said, I'd never change my life.
Right, yeah.
I wouldn't have the things I have right now. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have the family. There's no guarantees that nothing wouldn't have changed You know, I'm with my brothers every day, still have my family. So there's so many things that I would never want to know the other side
Right.
of how life would have worked out. And also, I truly love what I do. I love what I do. I don't love the experience of some of the interactions with some of the people I work with as clients. You know, the people are inherently do have some bad character. Not all people, but some people, you know. So, like, that part of my life, I don't enjoy the pressure, the
I think
strain.
you'll never escape that though, because like you're at Starbucks, right? And there's like out of 10 customers, 2 of them are
Snap,
jerks.
crackling, and pop on the soy.
Yeah, you know.
You know, I wanted like a special sugar.
It's just like a slice of
Are
the
you dumb?
population.
You know, like that's what my. If I could say anything to the world, ease up on people, bro. Don't think you're so great. Don't be coming at some Starbucks barista and belittling them because you have $10 to buy a muffin and a coffee that makes you some powerhouse. You know, show people empathy and respect and love until they do something wrong to not get that. People aren't trying to screw you over by making your coffee wrong. And never forget that you don't know what that person's going through. Mm-hmm. The reason they put the wrong mix in could be because their grandmother just died. Right. There could be something else far greater than your coffee going on in their mind. And therefore, people should just chill out and try to show a little love and respect, because time heals all wounds. Problems are only problems if you know about them or remember them in a year from now.
Right.
Otherwise, they were just issues. There were things, they were blip on the radar. They were something that came up that you needed fixing. But real problems are death. Real problems are like losing something.
Yeah.
You know, there's much bigger problems for us to really worry about in this
So
world.
for finding your path in life, right? You know, in a world where every kid wants to become a YouTuber now, it's like the #1 job for everybody wants to be a TikToker or a YouTuber. In a world where everything seems like it happens online and everyone's making money online, right? There's all these businesses that everyone drives by on the way to the store. There's you might drive by 10 different $10 million businesses in that industrial park on your way to the store, not even realizing these are all different people's lives that put their work into something and built something. And you're an example of that, you know, that you built it from the ground up. This is a company that is tucked back into an industrial park somewhere that doesn't have a big flashy name on the side, which you got to get your sign out there at some point. But, you know, like in a world where everyone thinks the world only exists on the internet, there's all these jobs and there's all these paths you can go down, creating products with your hands and building a business that is not on the internet. I mean, in the way that, you know, like being a YouTuber would be. Like, what would you say to the world in that sense where, yeah, you have to have an online presence or whatever, but this isn't an online business?
Well, the world needs tire changers too, you know. Somebody's going to have to run the broom. You know, roofs don't fix themselves. Your pool doesn't clean on its own. Everything isn't going to be something you can push a button on online and get. Some of the wealthiest people I know have service companies and do things that most people don't want to do. I think that, you know, the reality is everybody's looking for a shortcut to what they think is going to make them happy. Most people that win the lottery end up broke and miserable. You know, the quick game is not the winning game. It's typically easy money. Watch every drug dealer movie. The easy money ends bad. Every criminal movie that you see where a guy or a girl had hand over fist ended up something, it ended poorly.
Yeah.
You know, so I think quick money is spent fast. And the enjoyment of success comes from the hustle of getting there. You know, the grind, the story, the ride.
The earning it.
Yeah, and then when you get it, you hold on to it differently. Easy money spends easy. You know, the hard work and ethic gives you something to respect, not regret. Most people in the retirement homes are regretting that they didn't do something. Do whatever you're going to do that you're not going to regret later in life. Everything you do for something that you're not going to regret. Because that's how we end our lives, living in regret. Why didn't I? Why didn't I go on that vacation? Why didn't I tell my dad I loved him when we went to dinner that night and he died the next day? People live in regret because they don't do the things that they know they should do, or work at things in a special way, or go for things that they know is the right way. The shortcut is not the right, it's some people that it works, man, but for the average, the regular, the masses, it's hard work and believing in why you did it and having empathy for those around you and trying to make a better place. I think that's, what I would walk away from this saying. Just whatever you do,
it's profound.
Think about others and how it's going to affect them. And don't worry about how things are going to be for you, because if you work hard and you do the right thing, you're going to have it. It's going to come. It always does. I've seen it time and time again. Money will make you happy, but it won't give you happiness. You will fight your whole life thinking that money is going to make you happy. And what you're going to realize is along the way, you passed up everything that was making you happy. Enjoy the people around you. Love your family. Love your people. Love the world. And do the right thing. And you're going to have a great life, And that's what I've learned in my 48 years, is that the things I thought were going to give me happiness only hurt me.
Well, with that, man, I appreciate your time, dude. You got some good nuggets of knowledge in there. I really appreciate the time.
That's from living around and surrounding myself with good people, man. That's what. Gonna be good at this. That's just, I learned so much for so many great people, and everything that I have is because of that. It's because I surrounded myself. When I married my wife, that was the first step in me becoming a better man.
And I don't think marriage gets enough credit.
It doesn't.
Like, so many people see, I guess it's from the movies, the 80s, maybe the 70s, 80s, 90s, of like these movies of like the action hero gets the girl for like James Bond, for the one night, and then he's on another adventure. Like, I feel like this idea that you're only happy if you're getting a new mate, it's like what the world wants you to think, but real happiness is being in love and building like a sustainable relationship and building intimacy with someone. And it took me a long time to realize that. It took you even a couple years longer than it took me.
It took me longer because I was just a fool full of ego, and I was chasing false idols. And like, I learned that from religion. My mom, it's biblical. Do not chase false prophets or whatever it is. And that's the reality of life. Everything in the Bible, like, I'm not saying like I'm super religious, but the Bible's rules are all legit rules to live by. Right. And they usually bring happiness, And, my wife, my brother, my parents, they're the things that made me who I am today. If it wasn't for them, I'd probably be at rock bottom.
I'm sorry, I just have 2 minutes here in this memory card, and the batteries are like.
Yeah, well, we're good.
I think we're
good.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, that's good.